Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever been in a dark room all alone and felt like you're not actually alone? Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night to a face floating next to your bed grinning at you? If so, you've come to the right place. And if you don't believe in ghosts, that's okay too. You don't need to believe to enjoy a good scary story. So join me as I regale you with tales of terror. Or at least some of the creepy ghostly encounters I've had over the years. Hey again, I'm Pixie and it's officially my favorite time of year. October is my absolute favorite month and I live for Halloween and all things spooky. So I've gathered some of my personal ghost stories for you to hopefully help you get in the Halloween spirit. But of course, before we get into the scary, let's talk about what I'm drawing for this video. I haven't drawn much art of the main cast of my webcomic yet, so I wanted to draw them all together in a scene. Now, they're all adults in the actual story. Jamie is the youngest at 20 and Sebastian is the oldest at 34. So I decided to draw Seb as the adult taking kid versions of the other characters trick-or-treating. So of course we've got Nick, Martha, Jamie, Lucian, Elias, Sebastian, and Emily. The composition was a bit tricky for this one. I'm not used to drawing so many characters at once, and drawing child versions of these guys was also quite the challenge. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know my contention with backgrounds. But here we are. All in all though, this whole piece was definitely good practice. And with that out of the way, it's time for the ghosts to take over. I've actually got 4 stories ranging from kind of sort of unsettling to downright terrifying. So I'll start off with the less scary, something that was probably actually just a dream, but still freaks me out when I think about it. So when I moved out on my own, I started renting this super tiny basement apartment. It wasn't haunted or even creepy, really. It was mostly just kinda sad. But I mean, it was my first apartment, so I was more or less pretty proud of it. So the night that this happened, I was just asleep in bed, but I think I was having some sort of nightmare because I suddenly jolt awake, and when I open my eyes, I make direct eye contact with this pale face that's just floating beside my bed. There's no body or anything, just a head and a face, and it's grinning at me with this wide, toothy grin and manic eyes, and it just hangs in the air for a moment before it floats down towards the floor and then just disappears. And of course, I freeze and lay there for several minutes, wide-eyed, spending however long I took to convince myself that that was just a dream, so I could go back to sleep. I had work the next morning after all. To be honest though, like I said, I'm pretty sure that was just a dream hallucination, just an afterimage of the last thing I saw before I woke up, and not actually a ghost. But it was still super scary at the time, and on occasion I will picture it as I'm trying to go to sleep at night, and that does not help with the sleeping. My next 2 stories are similar to each other, as both have to do with shadowy figures. I'm not necessarily sure if they're shadow people, but ever since I can remember, I've had experiences with seeing figures, usually shadowy figures, just at the edges of my vision. I know I'm not the only one. There are loads of people out there that have had the same experiences. And now I usually pass these sightings off as like a trick of the light or my mind playing tricks on me. I mean, that happens. You can't always trust your peripheral vision. But there are some times when I can't pass them off as just nothing. Like one night when I was working at the gas station I used to work at. On this particular night, there were 2 of us working the evening shift. My coworker was manning the cash register while I was out in the main store tidying up. So I'm crouched in front of this little cubby area where we kept empty beer bottles up near the cash counter. So my back was facing the store. And as I'm kneeling there, I see out of the corner of my left eye, from the direction of the store's entrance, this dark figure walk behind me, heading to the other side of the store. I turn my head to the right to watch this person to see where they're going, and I see the figure walk past me fully on my right side as well. But when I stand up and turn around to greet this customer that just entered the store, there's no one there. The store is empty of customers, and my coworker is still standing behind the cash register. He has not moved from where he was standing. So of course I asked him if someone had come into the store, and he said no. He didn't say anything about seeing a shadow person walk past me. I did kneel down where I was before to try and recreate what happened in case it had been my hair or something. But what I saw actual legs walk past me. I saw the movement of the legs. So I don't know, I couldn't recreate it at all. I couldn't make anything look like what I had seen. Somebody walked past me in that store. Now that wasn't necessarily really all that creepy. I mean, nothing happened. It was just a random shadow figure decided to walk past me into the store. But my third story, while also kind of weird, definitely gave me chills when it happened. Still kinda does, actually, especially now that I'm currently recording with an open closet behind me. You'll understand why in a moment. Anyway, I worked as a housekeeper/building cleaner at a hotel for a few years, and this encounter happened during a day shift cleaning rooms. For some context of how the rooms are laid out, when you enter the room, there's a tiny hallway with a closet on one side. There's a bathroom on the other side, and then the main room is beyond the mini hallway. Like I said a moment ago, the closet is the important part of this story, and so they were all a sort of walk-in deal with some drawers, a place to hang clothes, and a full-length mirror, which means plenty of room for a full-grown person to stand or hide in. So I'm cleaning the window of this room, and I turn around, probably to leave the room to get something from my cart. Good chance it was like a clean rag or something. But before I can move towards the door, I catch sight of a figure peeking out from the closet looking at me. It looks like a person if they were wearing a full black morph suit. There's no face, there's no features, there's nothing. It's as if I'm looking at a living shadow. And as I turn and I see this figure and I make as close as eye contact with it as I possibly can, considering it had no eyes, it just immediately ducked back into the closet as soon as it knew I saw it. As soon as it was aware that I could see it, it was gone. This happened so fast, I just stood there for a moment, staring at the closet and the open room door, trying to figure out, what was that? What did I just see? What's going on? My first thought was that somebody had put on a morph suit and snuck into the room to scare me for some reason. I don't know why, but I mean, that's where my mind went first. But when I went to look in the closet, it was empty. And yes, like I said before, the room door was open. We had to keep them open for security purposes. No big deal. But it's right next to the closet. If somebody had been in the closet and ran out of the room, I would have seen it. I would have noticed them leaving the room. But there was nobody left. Nobody was in the closet. It was empty. To this day, I have no idea what that was. But I do believe that hotel is haunted because I often saw figures walking in the halls when there wasn't actually anybody there. That day in the room, though, was the only time I've ever gotten a really good look at one. And with that, it's time to tell you about what I still consider to be the scariest encounter I have ever experienced. Way back in September and October of 2012, I was living with my grandmother in her small home. Now, I don't know if what happened in October had anything to do with this encounter, but the timing of everything is a bit strange. In the second half of October, my grandmother got sick, and unfortunately she ended up passing away in the early morning of November 1st. And while I'm okay with her passing now, I mean, that was years ago, I still get chills when I think about the night I woke up to a malicious energy in my bedroom. This was about a week or so before her passing, and so one night as I'm sleeping soundly in bed, again probably before a shift at work, I jolt awake with this intense sense of fear. As I start to regain awareness, I feel this dark, malicious, just evil-feeling energy coming from the wall that the headboard of the bed is up against. And in my mind, I'm getting this image of some sort of, I don't know, goblin, gargoyle, demon kind of thing. It's hard to actually see, but that's what I was seeing, sort of. But the thing is perched on the wall just above my head, and it's looking at me, and it's watching me, and I know it can see me. I know it knows I'm there. Now, I know it wasn't a nightmare, and I know it wasn't sleep paralysis, because I was fully awake, and I could still move. I was actually on my side, just laying in bed with the covers pulled right up almost over my head. And I did not want to move, for fear of this thing, I don't know, doing something. So I just lay there, again, not moving, barely breathing, just hoping this awful energy would go away and leave me alone. I didn't know what to do. I was internally panicking. Eventually, I did feel the energy just kind of evaporates and just disappear, and I was able to get back to sleep. And I've never again experienced that kind of feeling. I've gotten some strange feelings and senses of things since then, but never quite to this extent of darkness. Well, not really darkness, but malicious, evil feeling, which was very, very weird. Now, of course, all of these ghostly encounters could have perfectly logical explanations. Personally, I've never been able to come up with any logical explanations to explain any of these things, so I'm going to continue to believe that they really were ghosts, because that's more fun. So, have I left you thoroughly spooked? Or have you had any run-ins with the paranormal? Let me know in the comments. And that's about it for this video. If you're here at the end, thank you for watching. I'm not sure how long this one's going to be. It might be a little bit on the longer side of things, because I really like talking about ghosts. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all again. Bye for now.